it's really important to understand what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to avoid the whole fighting strength against strength as he starts to escape. We want to get away from that. We don't want to try to do that. We need to come up with ways around or ways to deflect whatever it is he's trying to do. Now, if I were to ask you guys, your standard side control, what's the first thing that you expect from my position that you expect to see him do?
Pressure. Frame up.
Okay, there's the frame. Now, what's coming next?
Am I allowed to talk?
Yeah.
Bridge turn in.
Yeah, bridge and turn in. This high side. He's going to high side his shoulder. Okay, now this is what you expect to see. They're gonna present their chest to you. They're gonna start trying to work to get their knee shield in. Okay, that's just pretty much gospel. Now, as we move through this, we'll talk about my preferred method of escape, which is turning away. I've gotten to where I love to turn away because nobody expects it. Jiu-Jitsu traditionalists say you're supposed to turn in. So like hell, I'm going to turn away because A, it's easier. B, they don't expect it. Okay? So there's a lot of benefits to that, but right now we're looking at standard, traditional, what we expect. So if we know that this is coming, what kind of excuses can you give me when I see this happen? He bridges and turns, and then the knee gets inside. What kind of excuse can you really give me that's going to be valid? If you know that's coming, okay? You don't have any excuses. If you know that that's what's coming, you shouldn't have been there. The second that you start to feel that build up, you got to move. The other problem that we have here is, I'm going to tell you right now, this grip right here is probably about only good on over 80 blind, crippled, or crazy old people. This right here. You're going to have to bail on this whole. This is no longer going to be valid for you past a certain point. I don't know how many people actually use this as a standard control. To be honest with you, I feel far better with a hand on a hip or a hand checking this side or something else that gives me a little bit of lower body control instead of this right here, because he just hips out and drives his knee inside. He's completely open to get a reference point in here as far as a frame. Okay, start driving wedges in on one way or the other. So this, I'm only going to ever use this for a moment to switch off of. I'm not going to stay in it, all right? So the second that we start to feel a buildup, that's where we have to be sensitive. So those of you who are wrestling with your ability to be sensitive or to use sensitivity and you're just playing the heavy game, you're going to be the ones that struggle with this the most, okay? If you can be somewhat chill here and ready to float, all right, or pop, like imagining popping on a surfboard, we'll talk about that in just a minute, you're going to be way better off than the guy that wants to sit here and do this the whole time. It's going to be real hard for that guy, okay, because they don't feel anything. So from here, the minute that I start to feel movement, my hands are going to do something. I'm not going to hold, I'm going to go here, okay? I'm not going to hold. Because with my hands locked in here, what am I able to defend? Nothing. I can't defend anything. All right? So when I start to feel, if I'm holding tight here and I start to feel a solid frame come up, my hands are going to base out. I'm going to start basing, right? Because if he starts trying to push on me, I can actually raise up off of that a little bit and I can affect his head a little bit by moving my hand, as opposed to staying here. And now he's driving heavy into me, and it's just like, okay, yeah, go ahead and do your textbook escape that's in a magazine that nobody will do, right? So it's far better when you start to feel that to get in a habit of just post. Quick post. Now, there's something I do with my post, and this is going to be the drill here in a minute. We're going to make this a little fun. We're going to play a little bit of checkers here and get a sensitivity drill. Where we're going to put this hand makes all the difference. It's this hand that makes the difference, right? So coming in here, sensitivity drill right here is, I'm going to hold super hard, and as soon as I start to feel movement, I'm going to base out, and I'm not going to stay heavy on him. I'm still chest to chest. I'm not giving him all this room, but I'm chest to chest, and my hands are here, and we're entering our floating phase. Why do I call it floating? Well, because I need to be able to float on either the chest, the shoulder, or the hip, or the thigh. Whatever he presents me, I don't get to make the choice right here. If he high sides this hip, what's checking it from happening? My elbow. He has nothing here. I still have a cross face, so he's not just going to just kill that, right? If he does high side the hip and drops his hand all the way down, this hand now starts to float down toward the leg to become a pin. It can also come in here and act as a hip counter as well. So it's far better here to where I can recruit it and get it in the game wherever I may need it, as opposed to it being up here. And I'm not going to move this hand on this side of the body yet, because this hand comes to the body when I'm ready to pivot. We'll discuss why I bring my hand on the other side of the body here in just a moment. Not until. It stays on this side, so I have cross body control. I've got a hand on the right ear, and I've got a hand on the left hip. Cross body control, far more effective. When I start to feel that movement, pop, base out. Notice my legs didn't base out, but I got up on my toes. Okay, we'll discuss lower body here in just a second, all right? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to have your hands here locked. Your partner is going to give you a series of feints, okay? Being able to discern when they're actively going to try to push away and when they're just feigning you is going to be a different thing. He's going to give me something different, so I've got to be paying attention to his hip line, right? As soon as he actually tries to escape, notice what I did. I brought my chest into him. I didn't stay back here like this. My hands hit, and I bring my chest into him, and I rock forward up on my toes, and I become active with more or less my belly on top of his chest. Okay? We got it? Drill one. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Keeping the legs floated so we can generate that lift there. If that happens, I see these legs get floated. This hand goes from being here or here, and it starts to go right here. Okay. And I leave it here, and I won't even worry about the crossface, because now, if he turns down, my elbow blocks him. If he turns away, I can go to what? We'll discuss that in just a minute. Let's get it rolling. The whole concept for him to escape is to do one of two things. It's either to hip escape, to scoot a knee in, or it's going to be able to create frames and push me away using what as leverage?
The ground.
The ground, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. If you bench press, the bar is not tilted like this when you bench press, right? You do a bench press, the bar is tilted flat across your body, and he's bench pressing with his arms like this, okay? If you take and you offset the angle of that bench press and he's trying to bench press like this, how much power does he really have? If he's over the top, he's got a lot more power. But if you take him making bench press like this, what's there? Nothing, right? So we can deflect everything he does. When we start to feel that real pressure and that push up, the minute that he does it, he pops. I'm gonna pop and I'm gonna drive forward. So now one arm is short, one arm is long, and he's got this weird angle to contend with because I'm at an angle like this. So this hand has a tendency to do what when it hits? Bloop, slide up. Which makes this what?
Arm
super long, right? Can start to do all kinds of nice stuff. Now, that's not necessarily where we're going, but it's a benefit, right? So when I get that turn, as soon as I get the turn, I'm going to drive my chest, and I'm going to be heavy, but I'm at an angle over the top of him. The only thing that's touching him is sort of right above my belly button. Now, we're also not doing this either, okay? Have what we call active toes. My toes are in the mat, my feet are up underneath me, and I'm preparing to enter my floating passes, or just generally my floating system, okay? What happens next is huge. How he dictates what happens here is massive. He's going to go over a couple of things. One of the one of the many things I can do, and as far as the system goes, we're going to be either attacking over the head, over the leg, or straight over the midsection, right? Now tell me this, because of my body position, what's it going to be easier for me to maneuver around right now? Head. And that's something that you're going to have to assess real time. So you're going to have to be watching your opponent and go, I'm down low now, so it's going to be easier to move around the what? The legs, right? If he scoots out far enough and he manages to put you kind of say he does a real hard hip escape before you notice it, and you pop, and you wind up down here like this. Look how far he is away from my hand. Now it's easier for me to shift and float around these legs and start entering my trapping and my weave and all my long steps, short steps, all that stuff. Okay. But if I'm up here like I initially was, and he got that hard turn, I really got up underneath here, obviously I want to move around the head. Here's something to keep in mind. Is side control the best position in jiu-jitsu? As far as positional hierarchy? No. What is the goal in trying to stay in it then? Right? Our job is to advance our position, whether it be street fight or whatever. There's really only two positions that are actually positionally more dominant than this. That'd be what?
Mount and back.
Mount and back. Now I will submit to you a couple of problems here. If you're holding side control, and let's say they're not really escaping effectively, but you're not really advancing any further, what if it's a street fight, and he's smart enough to know that when you're in side control, he's going to capture the back of your head, and he's going to loop over this arm to where you can't strike. There's nothing you can do here short of giving him what? Space. We're going to do it anyway. So if you can't be effective from right here, we have to know how to move to induce him to make movement and open up. Okay, so this is obviously not what we want anyway. Yeah, we've passed the guard, we've stabilized, we're here. Okay, but at some point he's like, well, I got to move or I've got to escape. As that escape starts to happen, boom, I get heavy, kind of floating. I'm giving him a little bit of space to determine what he wants to do next. So right here, he's just kind of determining, yeah, he's wanting to try to bring that knee back inside. Standard hip escape. I cave to the top side because why? Why did I cave this way?
His knees can't get in.
So the knees can't get in, but I'm also closer to the head. So I want to face the way I'm closer to when I get ready to move around the body. We're talking specifically about moving to the other side of the body right now. It's a hard concept to understand why I'm wanting to do this, but another thing that I'm not doing, pay attention over here. Look where everything is. I'm not like this because I've told you the whole fishing concept when it comes to jiu-jitsu, right? What I throw out, it's got to get reeled back in before I can effectively use it. So why the hell throw it out here? Make a lot of sense. If I make my hip escape and I turn, go high side your hip like you normally would have been. So this is where a snapshot moment in time, this is what it would look like. I was initially up, surfed on him a little bit, and then I flipped my hips this way, but I turned this way because mainly why? Closer to the head. In a minute, if I'm closer to the leg, I'm going to hit rear-facing case, or what we'd call position 4, right? So now I'm here. I don't want to hang out here because I have little control. So as I get ready to go, my hands now have to move on the mat as I make my movements, right? So the first thing that we're going to do here is he's high-sided. I'm probably going to continue to scoot his hips away. Probably still trying to drive his knee in. So at this point, I step. Now I'm floating on him. Notice both my hands are down. I have one point of contact in the right foot, one in the right knee, one here, and one here on the mat. The only thing touching him is my right rib cage. So what I do now is I'm going to switch my hip. I'm going to windshield wiper this leg. So I go here, boom. Knee drops, hand switch, and then I transition to my backside. Okay? So it is simply here, here, fold, drop, and leg's gonna go here.
Turn in a circle.
Just turn in a tight circle, right? The days of the old long step died with tereré. Reason being is because now guys are so effective now at getting up underneath that long ranged out leg and reestablishing what? Half guard. Or they do worse on you when you give them this leg and they come up, they wrestle up, or they enter some leg entanglement or something like that. Hell, you give them that, what are they going to do? They're going to take it. All the leg entries, why do we want to get out there like that? No sense in that, especially no-gi, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to stay tight. So he's here and he hits his pop or he turn. I'm gonna pop. I get heavy now. I'm up around the head, I can tell. So I'm gonna draw my leg in. I'm gonna stay here super tight. Notice my left knee is up underneath me and tight to my elbow. Okay. As that hip becomes more of a threat, my weight starts to relax on him. Hand's gonna come over, hand's gonna move, step, drop, leg comes up. We're gonna spin around. Push. Knee down, knee up, leg around. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So let me make sure that we understand the concept. The concept is mobility. Okay? Mobility, not control. We are doing this because we want to induce movement. All right? Movement, if we're inducing the movement and we're expecting the movement, are we ahead or behind? We're ahead. We're planning for movement. The reason we're going to start doing this now is because we're going to learn these complex patterns of movement that people use when they go to escape. It's very difficult. It takes a long time to learn how to stay ahead of somebody. But if all you ever do is take your normal transitions, knee on belly, slide to mount, all this, you don't learn how to stay ahead and recognize these complex patterns and sequences of movements out the gate. This is not about control. We're trying to stay ahead of them, okay? And in many instances, we're trying to drag them out in deep water and get them tired too, because once you get used to this, it's very easy to move on top without using a bunch of energy. They're on bottom, okay? So we're staying ahead in the game. What we're doing here is not so simple as step and then waller on around. That's not what we're doing. We are at all times maintaining points of contact on the mat so we can do one thing, and that's pop up. Okay? We want to be mobile at all times. So, a minute ago, I was watching some of you guys would get here, and when you step over the head, you're making this good step, and then you sprawl out wide and you start moving to the backside. There's no mobility there. The farther your legs are out, the worse you are mobility-wise. What we're doing is we get here, step, knee will come down, windshield wiper will come up, leg will come up, leg will sweep around. It's a hip rotation, and I'm at all points in time able to pop up to a leg and get mobile again. I don't want to be immobile. So, knee hits, drop, sweep, back around. Step, knee drop, hip switch, and back around. Step, knee drop, knee comes around, and hip switches. At any point in time, let's say he gets plumb north and south and needs to pop back up to our control, which we've said, if we're in this hip position and our hands are on the mat, can I pop back up? Absolutely. What if I get right here and he goes 8 nuts on me and starts bringing his legs back inside like most of these real flexible guys do, and he's benching me off? Can I pop up and get underneath it? Absolutely. Right? Go north-south. Boom. Now he benches you off because he's got the angle. Now he can pop back up and start fighting back inside. Right? This is where we're going to get into controlling the knees, fighting inside the knees at all times. Okay? Absolutely imperative, though, that you understand that sequence of he pushes, I fold. Hand comes around. I step, knee drops, leg folds underneath me. Boom, leg comes back up. Right? Because right here, I can put my leg right back down and deflect the opposite way again. What's cool about this is my pattern of movement can shift right back where the hell it came from in a moment's notice. Right? Or I can go right back, drop. What if he starts to push me off and get his hips in right here? Watch. What'd I just do? Knee on belly. Fold back to the backside. Come on. We can stay ahead of him. Whoops. We're just putting those complex patterns of movement together by always being on either a knee or a foot. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3.